Special thanks to Zhiyun for sending me a gimbal to test and review for this video. All links will be in the description box below for you to purchase, including an affiliate link to help support the channel.
Well, good morning. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something a little different than normal. We're actually talking about this right here. It's a gimbal. Not too long ago, a marketing specialist over at Zhiyun, or is it Zhiyun? I don't speak Chinese. Reached out to me on Instagram, which is a really good way to actually get a hold of me if you want to have a conversation. And she asked me if I would be interested in testing out this. This is a Cinepeer Weebill 3E. It's one of their newest gimbals. It's one of their smallest and lightest. And my first response was, I'm a photography channel. Why would I need a gimbal? But as the conversation progressed, she was starting to share some of the features of the gimbal. And after hearing some of it, I decided to go ahead and accept the offer to give it a try and discuss how a gimbal might actually improve your photography. So there's your disclaimer. This gimbal was sent to me for free for testing and review. Despite that though, I'm going to keep my opinion as unbiased and truthful as possible, given that as a photographer and a videographer on YouTube, I don't tend to use gimbals all that often, but this one I just might because it is just so light, easy to pack, and quick for setup. Also, I have the grip on backwards, which doesn't exactly bode well for the legitimacy of this video. I've been testing this for about 20 days now. I've put it through quite a few different testing scenarios, and I have some thoughts on it. So the Zhiyun Weebill arrived just over 20 days ago. It showed up well packaged, and I got to unbox it, and I actually filmed a video, which I don't always do when I unbox things. And you can see it's all packaged nicely, very safe, comes with a styrofoam style padded case. And in addition to the gimbal itself, they sent one of the coolest gimbal accessories I've ever seen. And that is something that they're calling the Master Move accessory. It's basically a support arm. You can see it right here. You're able to rest your wrist on it with one hand, and using your other hand, you can stabilize things, and it really does work, as long as you have it facing the right way, which I don't. Now, when this gimbal arrived, it was completely out of power, so I plugged it in, and I timed it. Took just over 50 minutes to charge from zero, which isn't all that long when you consider that my old DJI Ronin gimbal that I bought probably 5-6 years ago takes easily over 2 hours to charge from zero. And with that charge, it has lasted through the entire testing process. It is at 1 bar, which I guess means about 25% or under. So it'll probably need a charge here pretty soon, but up to this point, I haven't really needed to worry about that the entire time, despite the fact that I have really put quite a bit of time on this gimbal, more than I ever did on my Ronin. One of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and accept the offer to take the Zhiyun Weebill Cinepeer 3E is because of its built-in time-lapse and hyperlapse function. And I've been looking for an opportunity to test it out and show you all the capabilities. And I think today might be the perfect day. I woke up this morning way earlier than I needed to because of our baby. And when the sun finally came up and I looked out the window, I saw something quite inviting. Up in the hills, I saw this view of low-lying clouds. And isn't that just the perfect way to test time-lapse photography? In case you didn't know, A time-lapse takes a collection of photos captured in sequence of a specific length, and it will put them together into what would be considered an animation. And this gives the illusion of fast-paced movements. Oh wow, just look at those views. Now how does time-lapse differ from hyperlapse? Well, a time-lapse is a stationary shot. Your camera's basically in a fixed position and the scene basically moves around it. So, you know, if you're taking a time-lapse, you want your camera to be on a tripod or something stationary like that. With a hyperlapse, it's all about camera moving as it's shooting that consistent animation. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the Weebill on a tripod, that way it's fixed and I can make my movements and shoot my hyperlapse, because those clouds over those misty hills, that's just beautiful. And I wanna get this panning motion as it's also time-lapsing. You know, the whole point of a hyperlapse. I've got my tripod mounts there. Stick one on. My next step is to set my Sony on its plate, and then I can begin time-lapsing. Okay, so let's get back to discussing the gimbal itself. Balancing this gimbal is so quick and so easy that it really gives you no trouble at all, and everything slides nicely, so that means the process is so quick. Back when I was using the Ronin for videography jobs, it would take me probably 3 times as long to balance, and I'd usually have to watch a tutorial video to remind me how to balance the 3 axes. But this one, it's already right there. The other thing I want to point out is these locking arms make it so easy to pack around and not worry about it. I've thrown it in a backpack just like this. Well, just like that, and not even worried about it, because those arms are not able to swing freely, so it's unlikely that anything is going to get damaged. I'll put a list on the screen from their website as far as which cameras are recommended. Seems like it will balance pretty much any standard mirrorless camera that's out there right now. However, one caveat is that it doesn't sync with all the cameras, and that's what I experienced in this. If I wanted to run my Fuji X-H2S, which I'm filming on right here, it doesn't sync with that one. It will sync with Sony, it'll sync with Panasonic, and it'll sync with Canon. It'll sync with Canon. Basically the ones that have a USB-C data port, those ones it will sync with, but not with any of the other ones. So I tried to run my Fuji, and while it does balance and you can use it, you can't use the ZY Play app to actually control the camera itself. Not a deal breaker, but you know, just need to be mentioned. The rain is about to hit us. It's gotta be quick. All right, I guess this is a good test of the waterproofing of this gimbal. Luckily it's not pouring, it's just a little bit of rain. I'm gonna do a screen recording so you can see what I'm doing. All right, we're in the ZY Play app. I can go ahead and move the gimbal to my first location. I go ahead and connect my camera. Okay, I'm gonna choose the remote. We're gonna go ahead and do a trajectory photography. Basically, I'm gonna shoot everything 4 seconds apart. Duration is 10 minutes. This is going to be the first movement. Oop. That's going to be the second movement, and that's it. We'll just do those 2. And at that point, we can hit start. I'll do a countdown and begin firing. And now we just wait for 10 minutes. An issue I did run into with the ZY Play app, if you ever exit the app, if you've got a function running on it, it'll stop. So in the midst of a time lapse or a hyperlapse, If you exit the app to, look at a text or something like that, it will stop taking pictures. And for me, it happened quite a bit, and then I'd had funny little jumps in my hyperlapse. Obviously, this is an app issue, not a gimbal issue. But again, this is me sharing my objective experience. I guess you could just, like silence your phone or do not disturb type situation. Probably recognize this trail. It wasn't too long ago that I was here taking pictures of the hillside with trees, and I think it was, talking about like gear malfunction or something like that, but we're back. And I thought this would be a really nice location to test one of the other aspects of this gimbal that I'm so excited about. And that is the potential for self-portraiture. There's no denying that being a content creator on social media, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, having an occasional profile picture update or self-portrait to kind of share on your page will benefit you, especially as you get a new haircut or maybe a kit change. And one of the issues that we often run into is self-portraits are kind of tricky to get, especially when you're an outdoor photographer and you want to get a nice picture of yourself on location. In the past, what I've had to do is like grab a screenshot from a video and use that as a profile picture. But it'd be kind of cool to get a nice, clean portrait while out here. And I'm going to show you how the Zhiyun Weebill Cinepeer 3E can make that not just possible, but turn it into an actual fun experience. Actually this area right here with this view might be just about perfect for what I'm going for. All I really want is a photo with a nice backdrop. And I don't want to hike too far if this is literally just for a self-portrait. I'm not out here to take any photos of the landscape, but use it as a nice backdrop. So, could you call this a waste of time? Probably. But it's all for you. Now in the past, the process would have been get your camera, set it up on a tripod, try to figure out a focal distance that will get you in focus and the background blurry, set it on the tripod, use the timer, take a picture, run over, quickly pose, come back, check your focus, check your photo, check composition, run back, take another picture. It would be quite the process. But the gimbal, let me just show you why this makes it so easy. I cannot overstate how incredibly small this gimbal is. It fits so nicely in the front pocket of my backpack and weighs very little, so it doesn't add much, and it really just makes it super easy to carry around. My other gimbal, I need a whole carrying case for it specifically, So just the fact that the arms lock, that everything is so lightweight, just makes this a breeze to use and makes it way more likely that I'd carry it with me than something like my old, DJI R Ronin RSJ2, whatever the numbers are. We're gonna shoot at 50 millimeters. Okay, let's go ahead and stick this guy on there. Balancing is quick and easy. What I usually do is I balance front and back, and then I'll balance side to side. And what I'm doing is I'm using the level on my camera to try to make sure everything is looking right. Now we're level. We better hurry because the sun is getting brighter and brighter. Okay, the way that this works, we can go to the ZY Play app. Uses Bluetooth. I can go ahead and connect. This is a good test to see how it does when there is no reception. All right, there we go. So I can go ahead and take a photo using the app. But one thing that I can't do on this app, I can't frame my shot. Enter a secondary remote controller. The downside is if I use the cable, I can't connect to this other app. Now this is not Sony's app, so I'm not sure if that is why. But using this other app, I can frame my shot. I can actually change my shutter speed. I can check my focus. I can make sure that I'm exactly where I need to be in order to get a good photo. Okay, so I can basically check my focus. I can check my framing. There's a very minor lag to it, but that's okay. So now I know I'm perfectly in frame. I can take a step back, try to get more of a mid shot, and I can even take a photo. Give myself a 5-second timer or something. Something like that. Yeah. And just like that, I can update all my profile pictures without any trouble. Except carrying all this stuff out into the wilderness. Speaking of Bluetooth, the Weebill has a USB-C port that can be used, but you can also access Bluetooth directly from your phone to control all the functions. So you don't actually need to plug your camera in to control the gimbal, which is something I forgot to mention while I was doing my self-portrait photography, that controlling the gimbal to frame it, I don't have to walk up to it over and over again. If I'm slightly out of frame or my background doesn't look right, I can just use my app, shift it around, and then go back to the remote shutter app that I have on my phone. So the reason to go with the Zhiyun over the competitors, you can actually pack it in. Yes, other gimbals, you can do the same kind of thing where you can move it around, but this thing is so fast to set up, so easy to carry, that it's almost like barely noticeable strapped into my backpack. Let's say you're an environmental portrait photographer and you want to set your camera off to the side while you hold an off-camera flash or a bounce because you don't have an assistant. Well, now this gimbal becomes your assistant and you can have it do a lot of the work that you would be doing from a distance using remote technology. And the fact that I'm in the middle of nowhere where I don't get any cell service and I'm still able to connect to it very quickly, that's even more amazing. I'll be honest with you, perhaps the most important reason why I decided to go ahead and accept this Zhiyun Cinepeer Weebill 3E is for a style of abstract photography that I've been really interested in attempting, and that is ICM photography, intentional camera movement photography. Now there's many ways to do this, and one of the more popular ways is to basically move your camera by hand and blur the images together. And while that is totally valid and probably way more cool than what I'm about to attempt, I thought I'd try a different type of ICM where, using the stabilization features of the camera, I get cool motion blur effects. So that's what we're attempting for this third reason that a photographer can benefit from having a gimbal. If you decide to add this specific gimbal to your kit, which if you're in the market for a gimbal, this is the one I'm going to recommend from now on, I would totally suggest that you get this with it. This is a hand grip. It folds down pretty small, but the benefit of this hand grip is it supports your wrist like this, and you can hold it with the other hand. Using this right here makes operating the gimbal so much easier, so much more comfortable, and so much smoother because you get more grip that you can hold on to this with. So this right here is an amazing innovation and probably the most exciting thing about this whole kit. What? Helicopter right overhead. Air rescue. Okay, to set it up, it's pretty simple. There is a plate. I'm gonna go ahead and put it this direction using the provided wrench. Just tighten that up. It's gonna be a warm one today. The sun is so bright, baking hot, and then slides on and locks in. And then just like that, I can adjust the angle of everything, kind of make sure that it's feeling good. This can also be adjusted using this knob right here. In addition to that, there's still a hole on the bottom, a threaded hole that you can attach this tripod leg. So if you want to set it down for any length of time, you just boop, stick that on there. Oh man, so many flies out here. I've gone ahead and I've attached my case filter adapter. That's because it's so bright out here. In order to get the long exposures that I'm shooting for, I'm gonna need to use some filters. Last thing I need to do is plug everything in and then we can get going. Now, because I forgot my actual tripod and because this is a very crowded trail, I'm gonna switch over to like a GoPro view. This just makes it far easier. This right here is already gonna draw enough attention. Hi, good morning. I just want you to take a look at this grip. How nice it is to have access to it. You know, this is supporting my wrist, and I can really lock that in using that like three-point of touch or whatever it is. There we go. So this is what I want. I want a tunnel of trees just like this. You know, it's an inevitable that they're going to be doing road construction right next to where I'm filming. You know, why wouldn't they be? So there's multiple modes to this gimbal. There's a perspective, there's a locked, and there's a follow. I'm going to set it to the lock, which is going to do its best to lock in this exact position, no matter how I move. As long as I'm moving relatively stable, I've got a 3.2 second timer. And even with my body movement. That's so cool. Oh. Go for it, sorry.
Are you in the way?
No, not at all. Cool. Oh, hello. Go around. It's the best part of the lock. So that's what I'm thinking. The goal here is to find a subject in the distance that you can focus on. Because everything close to the lens is going to be blurred. The further away from the lens you get, the less blurry it's going to be. If that makes sense. I'm going to stick the 10 stop on there and show you what I mean. That pine tree, I'm going to try to walk toward. So besides using the joystick, this gimbal also has a front wheel right here, and that allows me to do panning motion, or no, twisting motion. So I'm going to walk up to this pine tree, try to keep it stable, lock, and twist as I'm doing it. This ICM long exposure stuff, honestly, it means nothing if I don't now compare it to me hand holding this camera and not using the gimbal at all. Try that again. This time I'm going to try walking a little more stable. Just don't get the same lines, if that makes sense. You know, like, doesn't matter how stable your IBIS is, when it comes to long exposures, you can see every movement so easily. The other thing to mention is how easy it is to switch to portrait orientation using this gimbal. So if I wanted to keep going and keep taking pictures and shoot portrait, I don't have to do anything crazy with my camera. All I have to do is take this off. There's a little button to lock it in, and then just swap over. And now I'm in portrait orientation, just like that. Or vertical, I should say, since I don't always use this for portraits. Anyway, that is just fun to explore. Again, another reason why a gimbal could make your photography either more fun, more artistic, more helpful, or it might open up the world of videography to you, because let's not forget, most photographers nowadays, they run a YouTube channel, and using a gimbal for video just makes so much sense. And of course, realistically, you know, putting all of the photocentric pieces aside for a moment, a gimbal really shines with videography. I mean, that's really its intended purpose. And let's be honest here, if you are a photographer, nowadays you likely also have either a YouTube channel or maybe an Instagram account where you run Reels or TikTok. So having something that will give you smooth video footage might just be really important to actually add to your kit. If you decide to do product videos, or if you decide to shoot B-roll on location, having a lightweight, easy to carry gimbal really does help. And I know cameras have pretty good IBIS nowadays, but you know, there's something that there's still a handheld look. There's still a little bit of shake that can't be removed, but a gimbal solves that problem and adds a lot more features in it as well. So is this a necessary piece of equipment for photographers to have? Definitely not. This is a nice to have tool, super fun to mess around with and play with. And you know, if you're into hyperlapse photography, if you're into shooting B-roll of your cameras, or you know, these artistic blurry images that you've seen, then picking up something like this might just be an extra tool that'll help you accomplish those goals. Once again, I want to thank the team over at Zhiyun for sending me this gimbal to test and review. I had a lot of fun playing around with it and trying to come up with cool ideas that would make it a photo-centric tool. If you enjoyed the video, really appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more of my content, where usually it's more photography out on location. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.